All right, I've got quite a few this week, so buckle up and take note. Hopefully, you'll be able to find something that you're interested in that's going to be coming out in the next couple of days. If you're an author and would like for your book to be considered to be added to the list, check out the description down below, and there is a sign up form to get your book in front of me to possibly choose. A Door in the Dark by Scott Reintgen comes in at 368 pages and is one of the books in the Wax Ways series and is pitched as young adult fiction, fantasy, dark fantasy. One of Us is Lying meets a deadly education in this fantasy thriller that follows six teenage wizards as they fight to make it home alive after a malfunctioning spell leaves them stranded in the wilderness. Ren Monroe has spent 4 years proving she's one of the best wizards in her generation, but top marks at Balmeric University will mean nothing if she fails to get recruited into one of the major houses. Enter Theo Brood. If being rich were a sin, he'd already be halfway to hell. After a failed and disastrous party trick, fate has the two of them crossing paths at this public waxway portal the day before holidays. Theo's punishment is to travel home with the scholarship kids, which doesn't sit well with any of them. A fight breaks out. In the chaos, the portal spell malfunctions. All six students are snatched from the safety of the school's campus and set down in the middle of nowhere, and one of them is dead on arrival. If anyone can get them through the punishing wilderness with limited magical reserves, it's Ren. She's been in survival mode her entire life, but no magic could prepare her for the tangled secrets the rest of the group is harboring, or for what's following them through the dark woods. Scott Reintgen is a former public school teacher and still spends summers teaching middle schoolers dark fiction and fantasy at Duke Young Writers Camp. The birth of his children has convinced him that magic is actually real. He lives in North Carolina, surviving mostly on cookie dough and a love of his wife, Kate. Scott is the author of the Nixia Triad, the Ashlord series, and A Door in the Dark for young adults, as well as the Tailspinner series and the Celia Cleary series for middle graders. You can find him on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Scott_Thought. Girl Forgotten by April Henry comes in at 272 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction, thrillers, and suspense crime. Piper Gray starts a true crime podcast investigating a 17-year-old investigating a 17-year-old cold case in this thrilling YA murder mystery by New York Times bestselling author April Henry. 17 years ago, Layla Trello was murdered and her killer was never found. Enter true crime fan Piper Gray, who is determined to reopen Layla's case and get some answers. With the help of Jonas, who has a secret of his own, Piper starts a podcast investigating Layla's murder. But as she digs deeper into the mysteries of the past, Piper begins receiving anonymous threats telling her to back off the investigation or else. The killer is still out there, and Piper must uncover their identity before they silence her forever. April Henry is the New York Times bestselling author of many acclaimed mysteries for adults and 14 novels for teens, including Two Truths and a Lie, Girl Stolen, and The Girl I Used to Be, which was nominated for an Edgar Award and won the Anthony Award for Best YA Mystery. She lives in Oregon. April invites you to visit her at aprilhenry.com. April Henry delivers another fast-paced and inventive YA mystery, this time incorporating a true crime twist. True crime podcasts have a dedicated following, potentially attracting a new subset of readers to April's established audience. The success of authors like Karen McManus and Ellie Marney prove that teen audiences are seeking out stories about murder. Girl Forgotten explores feminism, violence against women, and the effects of new media in a way that will lead to critical discussions amongst readers. April Henry is a leader in this genre. Her books feature teen girls overcoming terrifying circumstances and are always clean and accessible to readers 12 and up. She has been called a leading light in YA mystery by Booklist. April's books have garnered over 50 state awards and honors, and April is a regular Yalza Quick Picks favorite, as well as an Edgar Award nominee, an Anthony winner, and has had books on the Taysha's and Blue Bonnet list. Prior to the pandemic, she completed nearly 60 school visits a year. She is beloved by educators and librarians nationwide who knows firsthand how well her books engage reluctant readers. Greymist Fair by Francesca Zappia comes in at 336 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction, loners, and outcast. The people of Greymist Fair know that the woods are a dangerous and magical place, and that they should never set foot off the road. But when a young tailor discovers a body on the road, her search for the culprit reveals even more strange and dark happenings around her town. From acclaimed author Francesca Zappia, Greymist Fair is a suspenseful and inventive murder mystery inspired by the lesser-known fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm. Greymist Fair will bewitch readers of Rachel Vincent's Red Wolf, Liz Braswell's A Twisted Tale series, and fans of Into the Woods. Features chapter decorations by the author throughout, as well as a map. Two roads lead into a dark forest. They meet at Greymist Fair, the village hidden behind in the trees. A place kept alive by the families that never leave. The people of Greymist Fair know the woods are a dangerous and magical place, and to set foot off the road is to invite trouble. When Heike, the villager's young tailor, discovers a body on the road, she goes looking for who is responsible, but her quest only leads to more strange happenings around Greymist Fair. Inspired by the original, bloody, lesser-known fairy tales of the Brothers Grimm, acclaimed author Francesca Zappia crafts an enthralling murder mystery that will keep readers turning the pages, told from multiple points of view, with each narrative building on the crime discovered by Heike. Greymist Fair examines the themes of childhood fears, growing into adult responsibilities, and finding a place to call home amid the trials of life and death. Francesca Zappia lives in central Indiana and is the author of Made You Up, Now Entering Adamsville, Katz's Jammer, and the acclaimed Eliza and Her Monsters. When she's not writing, she's drawing her characters, reading, or playing video games. Francesca Zappia also blogs about writing at francescazappia.com. Some key selling points. Equal parts creepy, haunting, and ambitious, sure to immediately draw readers into the mystery and suspense. Multiple characters share their perspectives while advancing Heike's narrative. As Heike struggles to understand what is happening around her, Greymist Fair is a perfect title for social and emotional learning with the following core themes: self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, social awareness, and self-awareness. Into the Light by Mark Oshiro comes in at 448 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction, thrillers, and suspense. Award-winning author Mark Oshiro, Anger is a Gift, returns with a new contemporary coming-of-age novel laced with a twisty, dark mystery you'll have to read to believe. Keep your secrets close to home. It's been 1 year since Manny was cast out of his family and driven into the wilderness of the American Southwest. Since then, Manny lives by self-taught rules that keep him moving and keep him alive. Now, he's taking a chance on a traveling situation with the Varela family, whose attractive but surly son Carlos seems to promise a new future. Eli abides by the rules of his family, living in a secluded community that raised him to believe his obedience will be rewarded. But an unsettling question slowly eats away at Eli, once unwavering faith and reconciliation. Why can't he remember his past? But the reported discovery of an unidentified body found in the hills of Idlewild, California, will draw both of these young men into facing their biggest fears and confronting their own identity and who they are allowed to be. For fans of Courtney Summers and Tiffany D. Jackson, Into the Light is ripped from the headline story with Oshiro's signature mix of raw emotions and visceral prose, but with a startling twist you'll have to read to believe. Mark Oshiro is the award-winning Latinx queer author of Anger is a Gift, Each of Us a Desert, as well as their middle grade books, The Insider and You Only Have to Live Once, David Bravo. They are the co-author with Rick Riordan of the upcoming Nico D'Angelo adventure book. When not writing, they are trying to pet every dog in the world. Last Sunrise in Eterna by Amparo Ortiz comes in at 336 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction, fantasy, contemporary. Fans of Holly Black will love Amparo Ortiz's new Regency Portal fantasy adventure and its magical Caribbean setting. 17-year-old goth Sevem Burgos would love to spend all day watching music videos, but to help support the family, she has to scavenge and sell elf corpses to a sketchy university professor. On one of her haunts, Sevem captures the elf prince, Aro, wounded in a Burger King, but it turns out that the elves have been watching Sevem too, and this chance encounter sets their revenge in motion. The prince manages to escape her and leaves behind a ring with a message. The Prince of Eterna is in danger. This ring will save him. Return it, and your mother lives. With her with her mom missing, Sevem must enter the magical home of the elves and find a prince whose fate might be more tied to hers than she ever expected. Amparo Ortiz is the author of Blaze Wrath Games and The Dragon Blood Ring. She was born in San Juan, Puerto Rico, but she currently lives on the country's northeastern coast. Her short story comic, What Remains in the Dark, appears in the Eisner Award-winning anthology Puerto Rico Strong. And Saving Chupi, her middle grade graphic novel, is forthcoming from HarperCollins. Couple of key selling points. Amparo is an up-and-coming voice in Kidlit with 2 graphic novels, 1 middle grade and 1 YA, forthcoming from HarperCollins. Her short story comic, What Remains in the Dark, appears in the Eisner Award-winning anthology Puerto Rico Strong that contributed to post-Hurricane Maria's relief efforts. Strong MG/YA crossover appeal, Amparo has a commercial writing style. The story's adventurous tone and quippy teen witticisms should appeal to upper middle grade and younger YA readers. With interest in Portal Fantasies series like Holly Black's The Folk of the Air series and YA Monster Hunter titles like Rebecca Schaefer's Market of Monsters, Eterna taps into several concurrent trends in popular contemporary fantasy. Made of Stars by Jenna Voris comes in at 368 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction, science fiction, romance. Inspired by the lawless love story of Bonnie and Clyde, Jenna Voris's heart-stopping tale of passion and crime will have you seeing stars. A thrill ride of the highest caliber, Made of Stars is an explosion of space warfare with beautifully violent criminals you'll love to accompany, says Chloe Gong. Shane and Ava are a team. He steals the aircraft, she charms their Mark, and together they take what they need. Not even their distracting chemistry could get in the way, until Shane was caught and left to rot on a prison moon, now freshly escaped from confinement, and simmering with anger, he has his sights set on their biggest job yet. Cyrus just graduated from the Flight Academy with a shiny new position lined up, reporting to a well-respected general. On his very first assignment, he stops the outlaws in their tracks, or he would have, if his annoyingly handsome co-pilot, Lark, hadn't fallen for Ava's deception. But when Shane discovers a top-secret plot that would leave his and Ava's home world at the mercy of Cyrus's military leaders, he makes it his mission to thwart them at all cost. It isn't long before the two of them make interstellar headlines with each new heist, and thanks to a chance run-in with the rebels, Cyrus is caught between two versions of the truth. He must pick a side, and fast, because Shane and Ava will bring the planet to its knees, or die trying. Jenna Voris writes books about ambitious girls and galaxy-traversing adventures. She was born and raised in Indiana, where she learned to love roundabouts and the art of college basketball, and now calls Washington, D.C. home. When she's not writing, she can be found perfecting her road trip playlist and desperately trying to keep her houseplants alive. Made of Stars is her debut novel. Follow her at JennaVores.com. Couple of key selling points. Bonnie and Clyde in space. Author Jenna Voris took inspiration from the real-life rebel duo known for outsmarting the authorities and put on a show as they did so, launching this book with a recognizable hook. With renegades hopping from planet to planet, Voris has created a hugely rich universe full of distinct cultures and settings that not only bring the characters to life, but immerse the readers in a world after world. Shane and Ava have an irresistible will-they-won't-they chemistry that makes their heist-filled partnership all the more delicious to watch unfold. Cyrus's own hate-to-love attraction with his co-pilot Lark brings the romance levels in this book up to 11. Rather than creating a dense world that only the most seasoned sci-fi readers can parse, Made of Stars is a character-driven adventure full of snark, daring chases, and enough romance to keep any sci-fi or intrigued fantasy reader happy. With the recent excitement around the new Dune movie and the sequels to follow, it's clear there's a fresh hunger for accessible science fiction. Stars and Smoke by Mary Lou comes in at 336 pages and is the first book in a Stars and Smoke series. This one is pitched as young adult fiction, romance, contemporary, but it definitely does not look like a contemporary based off of the cover. So I'm wondering if there's going to be a little bit of edge with this one. This smoldering enemies to lovers novel from #1 New York Times bestselling author Mary Lou puts a superstar global phenomenon and a hotshot young spy on a collision course with danger and Cupid's arrow in an electric new series perfect for fans of Emily Henry and Nicola Yoon. Meet Winter Young, international pop sensation with a voice like velvet and looks that could kill. His star power has smashed records, selling out stadiums from LA to London. His rabid fans would move heaven and earth for even a glimpse of him. Just imagine what they do to become his latest fling. Meet Sydney Cosette. Part of an elite covert ops group, Sydney joins their ranks as their youngest spy, with plans to become the best agent they've ever had. An ice queen with moves as dangerous as her comebacks, Sydney picks up languages just as quickly as she breaks hearts. She's fiery, no nonsense, and has zero time for romance, especially with a shameless flirt more used to serving sass than taking orders. When a major crime boss gifts his daughter a private concert with Winter for her birthday, Sydney and Winter's lives suddenly collide. Tasked with infiltrating the crime organization's inner circle, Sydney is assigned as Winter's bodyguard, with Winter taped to join her on the mission of a lifetime as a new spy recruit. Sydney may be the only person alive impervious to Winter's charms, but as their mission brings them closer, she's forced to admit that there's more to Winter Young than just a handsome face. Romance and danger abound in this brilliant, breathtaking ride that will leave you clamoring for the sequel, says Tahara Mafi, internationally best-selling author of Shatter Me. Mary Lou is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of the Legends series, the Young Elites trilogy, the Warcross series, Batman Nightwalker, The Kingdom of Back, and the Sky Hunter duology. She graduated from the University of Southern California and jumped into the video game industry, where she worked as an artist. Now a full-time writer, she spends her spare hours reading, drawing, and playing games. She lives in Los Angeles with her illustrator/author husband, Primo Gallanosa, and their son. You can visit her at marylou.com. Strictly No Heroics by B.L. Radley comes in at 368 pages and is pitched as young adult fiction superheroes. A normal teen girl must navigate crushing on her best friend, starting a new summer job, and not being squashed during the next supervillain showdown in this YA debut filled with humor and heart. A normie's guide to staying alive. 1. Keep your head down. 2. Don't make enemies. 3. Strictly no heroics. The world is run by those with the super gene, and Riley Jones doesn't have it. She's just a normie working at a diner to save money for therapy and planning how to tell her family that she's queer. But after a run-in with a handsy superhero, Riley finds herself in desperate need of new employment, and the only place that will hire her is Hench. Yes, Hench, as in henchmen, masked cronies who work for the villains. Riley's plan is to follow the rules and get paid, but then she witnesses a horrible murder on the job, caught up in gentrification plot, a unionized effort, and a new crush on her fellow henchwoman. Riley learns that even a powerless normie can take a stand against injustice. B.L. Radley wanted to be an astronaut or a penguin when they grew up. Neither worked out. Thankfully, fiction lets them live vicariously as both. Raised in rural England alongside several tame chickens and one feral brother, Radley still lives in the countryside, along with 999 story ideas, enough books to count as a fire hazard, and the occasional Oxford comma. Strictly No Heroics is their debut novel. Those Empty Eyes, a chilling novel of suspense with a shocking twist by Charlie Donlea, comes in at 368 pages and is pitched as fiction, thrillers, and suspense. I will say that I have read 2 of this author's books and absolutely loved them. 5 stars, great characterization, and lots of darkness. So I doubt that this one will be any different. You know her name, you know her face, you know those eyes. 10 years after she was exonerated for the slaughter of her family, the girl the tabloids called Empty Eyes is the only one looking for the truth in this propulsive thriller from #1 internationally best-selling author Charlie Donlea. Excellent, engrossing, this searing look into the legal system, entitlement, and exploitation is not to be missed, says Publishers Weekly in a starred review. Draws readers in from the first heart-stopping pages and doesn't let go until the end, says Mary Kubica, New York Times bestselling author of Local Woman Missing. Alex Armstrong has changed everything about herself, her name, her appearance, her backstory. She's no longer the terrified teenager a rapt audience saw on television, emerging in handcuffs from the quiet suburban home the night her family was massacred. That girl, Alexandra Quinlan, nicknamed Empty Eyes by the media, was accused of the killing, fought to clear her name, and later took the stand during her highly publicized defamation lawsuit that captured the attention of the nation. It's been 10 years since, and Alex hasn't stopped searching for answers about the night her family was killed, even as she continues to hide her real identity from true crime fanatics and grasping reporters still desperate to locate her. As a legal investigator, she works tirelessly to secure justice for others, too. People like Matthew Claymore, who, under suspicion in the disappearance of his girlfriend, a student journalist named Laura McAllister. Laura was about to break a major story about the R word and cover ups on her college campus. Alex believes Matthew is innocent and unearths stunning revelations about the university's faculty, fraternity members, and powerful parents willing to do anything to protect their children. Most shocking of all, as Alex digs into Laura's disappearance, she realizes there are unexpected connections to the murder of her own family. For, as different as the crimes may seem, they each hinge on one sinister truth: no one is quite who they seem to be. Charlie Donlea is the critically acclaimed USA Today, indie-bound, and #1 internationally best-selling author of Summit Lake, The Girl Who Was Taken, Don't Believe It, Some Choose Darkness, which is the one that I read, The Suicide House, which I also read, and 20 Years Later. Published in nearly 30 countries and translated into more than a dozen languages, Donlea has been praised for his soaring pace, teasing plot twist, says book page, and talent for writing an ending that makes your jaw drop, says the New York Times book review. He was born and raised in Chicago, where he continues to live with his wife and 2 children. Visit him online at charliedonnelly.com. Couple of extra tidbits. Fans of Karen Slaughter, Julie Clark, Gillian Flynn, and Mary Kubica find much to enjoy in Donnelly's novels. Like his previous highly acclaimed books, Those Empty Eyes features a strong female lead who is not the typical detective-type character. The protagonist is a legal investigator who is exonerated of brutally murdering her family as a teenager. Those Empty Eyes is Charlie Donnelly's 7th novel in just as many years and his most captivating twist yet. Donnelly's novels receive high praise from media and fellow authors including Karen Coulter, Mary Kubica, and Steve Barry, Alan Eskins, and Robert Dugany. They also routinely land on best of list. Just to name a few, The Suicide House was a Publishers Weekly Best Book of Summer. Summit Lake was named Best Debut of the Year by Suspense Magazine, and Don't Believe It was a Publishers Marketplace Buzz book. Donlea is an outgoing, personable, well-connected author who does many appearances around his book releases. Though this is a standalone, longtime readers will be rewarded. References to characters from previous books, as well as a few from well-known novels by his fellow suspense authors, crop up throughout, leaving fun Easter eggs for fans to look out for. If I get a cameo with Rory in it, that'll make my day. Rory is the main character in the 2 books that I read from him, and she is on the autism spectrum. She also has OCD, and I love her, so I need to see her in more books. Young Poe, Edgar Allan Poe is Back by Philip Osbourne, comes in at 160 pages and is pitched as fiction horror. Vincent is a teen nightmare blogger. Teenagers from all around the globe love him, but his extreme connection to Edgar Allan Poe is almost driving him crazy. He has extrasensory perception, and he knows that in order to understand his infernal powers, he will have to trace back the mysterious events that marked the final days of the writer from Baltimore. Philip Osbourne was born in Portsmouth, Maine, and attended the University of Maine. His work includes Jenna, with Jim Farron, Joe Rubinstein, and Paul Di'Anno of the world-famous band Iron Maiden, and the critically acclaimed Touch, illustrated by David Mack and Wellington Diaz. Osbourne has written articles for cinema magazines such as Empire, as well as worked with horror icon Brian Yuzna on film projects. He is now launching a line of funny, fascinating, and always surprising youth books. His works have been published internationally in Germany, Italy, France, Austria, Russia, Brazil, Australia, and many others. There's an odd and mysterious bond between the writer from Baltimore and Vincent, a teen nightmare blogger who has thousands of followers from around the globe. Deal closed for a TV series based on the Young Poe books. That's all for this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with friends. And leave me a comment down below. Let me know which of these books you're most interested in getting a review of. I did request quite a few of them. So fingers crossed. It's kind of short notice to be requesting an arc. But, I mean, maybe I'll get lucky. So, yeah, let me know which ones you're interested in if you're curious. I requested an arc for Made of Stars, Stars and Smoke, Strictly No Heroics or whatever it's called. And I also requested Those Empty Eyes. And I think I also requested A Door in the Dark. Basically, I requested all of them. um, yeah, so I don't normally do that because that puts a lot of stress to like read them and try to get them reviewed within the month. And I'm a very slow reader, and these are not audiobooks. But I can have my Kindle read to me. So if I do get approved all of them, I can still finish them within the month. So, yeah. Who knows what's going to happen for April? I think for April, I am going to pre-record all of the On My Radar episodes and then make a list of the ones that I'm most interested in because I cannot be requesting this many arcs. But anyway, I hope y'all have enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye!